Hey everyone, welcome to a new episode of Make Games in the Mirror, the second in our tutorial series. This is coinciding with our new Horizon release, which we're very excited about. It's been in quite high demand to get this out, and we're finally happy to deliver it to you because we have two incredibly cool features, actually many more cool features, but two of the coolest. One being we now have in-world GDScript, and then second, a lot of stuff to do with materials, a lot of quality of life improvements, join time, bug fixes, things like that. You'll notice the UI has a nice clean update as well. But the biggest one of our most in-demand features, writing GDScript in world. So we're going to walk through that today. And so if you haven't done the first tutorial, be sure to hop in and check out Make Games in the Mirror number 1. This will continue straight off of that. So let's jump in. Here we are back with our door that we created. Nothing too crazy here. If we walk up to it, it's gonna just open, and that's when we interact with it. We'll get into Area 3Ds in the future. You'll notice that it doesn't work right now because I actually deleted the script because we're gonna start from scratch on this intentionally with our good old shiny new GDScript. So we have the door. What we're also gonna do is hook up a key to this door. So let's head over to library real quick and let's just search for a box, for example. So this looks like a good box. All right, there we go. I just press C right there. You can always press C to focus on the object that you're currently selecting. Then I'm pressing, you can toggle the gizmos with Q, W, E, and R if you haven't already. So I press R, this will open the scale gizmo, and we're just gonna pop that up right there. Cool, we got our first box. So let's now put a key in this box. So I'm gonna go over here on scripting, click add script, and previously you'll know that we did visual scripts, and now we get a nice new GDScript button, which was there but just grayed out. Boom, look at this. If you've worked with Godot, you definitely know what this looks like. Welcome to GDScript in the mirror. And first things first, you'll notice that it says welcome to the mirror flavored GDScript. For security reasons, we don't allow everything like OS functionality, file access functionality, because of course that would be quite dangerous. And we also don't allow class name or extent at the moment. And this will just walk you through, but it'll be the boilerplate in there. But you can use functions and variables just like you would in GDScript. Use target object to refer to this object that's attached instead of self, because self will actually refer to the script. And then we also support multiple scripts per object, which is quite nice. And you can even do stuff like using one script for many objects, which will of course be critical. You know, if you have an enemy, for example, you're going to use the same script for that enemy for the most part. Maybe with some modifications on a per instance basis, but it's going to be the same script, so you don't want to have an individual script for each one. And you can also just do your good old friendly prints. You can print notifications with notify.info. And so, welcome. This is GDScript, mirror flavored GDScript. So what we're going to do to start, we'll work through more of these in the future, but I just want to get through this door today because I think that'll really help you out and get a good feel. So we just deleted all of this, and now what we're going to do is click this add entry at the top and think of this as, well, the entry point for the script, hence the name. And so these are going to be recognizable from what we had in visual scripting, and we're still moving more things over from visual scripting into GDScript. So eventually the full API, all the methods will be there accessible. We don't have all that just yet, but we do of course have these, which we can do a lot with. And today we're just going to touch on player interact because it's nice and easy to work with real quick. So now you'll see this is populated for us, func on player interact. That passes in the player object of the player that interacted with this object, and it might seem weird that the player is an object, and that's technically true. The player is an object. If that confuses you, don't worry too much about it, but just know the player is a generic object. So this passes in the player. So what we're going to do then is call a notify.success, and we're just going to say this is the box, that's the title, and then second is we'll say hello from the box. Nothing too crazy there. And you're probably wondering how I knew what these arguments were. We don't have autocomplete just in. This is definitely the alpha version of GDScript within the alpha version of the mirror, so the V0. So know that more is coming. But so with that, we'll have autocompletion coming soon. Check the bottom though. It'll just say, hey, this quick compiles. No errors detected. Life is good. And so let's just go up to that, hit E, and boom, we got hello from the box. How easy was that? And so all we did real quick, just as a quick recap, we just went up there, pressed add entry, that populated the on player interact. We called it notify.success. All right, so that was quite easy. So what we're going to do now is check whether the player has a key. And so let's just do this from the script for now. So we're going to say var has key equals true. So a very simple conditional here. And so now we're gonna go down here and say if has key equals true. If you're new to coding, don't be daunted here. A double equal is just to compare. As you'll see, at one equal is to assign. And also, if you're new to coding too, I'll touch on this video ways you can actually mix both visual scripting and GDScript. So do whatever you fancy. If whatever's easiest for you, whatever's most intuitive, you can run visual scripting and GDScripting side by side. So we hope you like that. And so don't get scared if this is too new for you. So we have if has key is true. So then we're just going to do that notify success, then else, then we're going to do notify dot warning from the box. And the box says you do not have the key. And so cool, has key is true there. And so we'll set to false just to check this real quick. Make sure the notification.warning, notify.warning works. So go to that. Boom, you do not have the key. And that's with that yellow there. We could also do like a has key dot, a notify dot error instead if we wanted to. This is in the API docs. So then you'll say that's red instead. And so let's head back to notify, let's just say notify.warning here. And so, of course, you'll see that we did something very simple. We just declared this has key, but this has key variable, that stays locally within the script. And if you're new to coding again, that's because you don't want to just spatter globals everywhere. It's not really a good way to do things. You want to keep your code very well orchestrated in a componentized manner. Separations of concerns is a very key programming concept. And so, for example, if this plant over here should not know anything about whether I have a key or not, because this plant is just being a cool plant. It looks great, but the plant doesn't need to know about whether this door over there is about to be opened with someone who has a key. So you can, of course, do that, but you should be explicit when doing that so that your global scope, as you call it, doesn't get clogged. So very easy rule of thumb there, just let's keep things contained, but we of course want the door to know whether I have the key or not. And so how do we do that? And so welcome to Space Variables. And so we have a variable editor up here, which is a quick sneak peek of it. We're not going to touch on it today, and actually one reason being is because we're still working out some of the kinks in it on this new release, so fixes are coming, but you don't really need it for the sake of this tutorial. But it'll be very helpful in the future, which we'll touch on in a future video. So noting all that, let's hop to the next step. So we have var has key equals false. So now what we're going to do instead is just delete this. And so what is has key? Well, what we're going to do is first mirror is our singleton. If you're new to the world of singletons, if that didn't make any sense to you, singleton is actually a bit of another fancy word, technical details aside, fancy word for global. And the way you can strain these well is by only exposing a small amount of globals. It's not a zero globals type of environment. Some frameworks and languages are like that, but we think having a few is helpful, but we just don't want to expose globals all the time. So what we're going to do then is mirror.set global, set object variable here. And so what is the object? Well, that's the player actually. And what are we setting on the player? Has underscore key, and we're going to set that to true. And cool, so things are good there. And so we just set that. And so now what we're going to do is actually say var has key equals same thing, except instead of mirror.set object variable, we're going to do get object variable player. And does the player have the key? Has key underscore. Oh, excuse me, that's just 2 here. Because what we're doing, again, these API docs are coming, but we'll keep it simple for this video. Mirror.get object variable player has key. And so if has key is true, then say, hey, hello from the box. And so just for checking this, we're actually going to set this to false. And we'll do a second box shortly, but we're going to set it to false to check that I do not have the key. And so, boom, I don't have the key. And so let's just open up that script again. That worked. And so now I'm going to change that to true. And so this is changing the object variable on me, the player. Hey, hello from the box. The box says I have the key. I should have that because of the green script. Let's say instead of hello from the box, you have the key, exclamation mark. Cool, that's great. So life is good so far. This box gives us the key. So let's take it to the next step and let's create a second box that we can put the key into. So putting the keys away. So what I'm going to do is, first I'll teach you a quick shortcut. Click on this box, hold shift and hover over this right gizmo, this x-axis red gizmo, and boom, that just duplicated. Just shift drag. That's a good old hotkey that I love from the days of Second Life. So if you have liked Second Life, that'll be very familiar to you. So we are now going to use this box as the one that we remove the key, we deposit the key into it. And so I'm going to open this up. And so first things that are very key to notice, and we'll make this more apparent on the UI in the future, but you'll see that this says this script is used by 2 objects. And so that's, as we were saying earlier, like if you have an enemy and you have 100 enemies, you're going to be duplicating the same script for that enemy for the most part, or just with different parameters. And you don't want to have 100 individual scripts. So what's happening here is this new script 7, we'll call this key script. Let's actually say pickup key script, because this says has key true. This gives us the key. So what we want to do now is actually detach this, and we'll get into like these running on both objects in the future, but we'll keep it simple for now. So what we want to do then is click clone script, and so this you'll see added copy here. So this pickup key script is now different. If I go on this original box over here, you'll see that this is pickup key script without the copy. Let's actually rename this box. We'll just call this box with key, and let's go over to our new box and name this just for our help. You don't have to do this. We'll say box deposit, box key deposit, like that. So now when I go over to box key deposit, I'm going to open up the script. This is also something we'll improve in the future, but notice I did have to click on this object and then click scripting and open that script. Otherwise, it might stay on the previous script over here. I noticed that change there. So just click on the object, go to scripting tab, open up the script. We're going to say drop off key script. Let's say just drop key. Cool. There's our drop key script. And so very simple. All we're going to change is set object variable has key to false whenever you go up to this box. And we'll say drop off box as the title of this notification. And so what that'll do is just check. And so let's go ahead and try that out. So if I go up to this box on the right, it should say, hey, I have the key. And if I drop this off, hey, I don't have the key. Sweet. All right, pretty easy. So pick up the key from this box, drop off the key in this box. And now we're ready to take it to the door. So here's the next part. So remember, here's our door over here, and I'm going to actually disable our old script. So we'll start from scratch here. I just turned off enabled here. And so what I'm going to do now is add a new GDScript. So this is a lot here again. What I'm going to do is just delete all that, click add entry, player interact. And very importantly, quick side note, if you typed func player interact, for example, let's say I did this, func player interact or something like that, that is valid, or it's really on player interact. And with the player, now that's actually not going to work because you notice that green icon disappeared. That's because it's not actually hooked up just yet. So make sure even if you add this and click add entry, click that player interact. Now on player interact will actually appear, because otherwise it won't actually run whenever you click or interact without this green icon there, which you'll recognize from the get. We wanted that to carry over very easy for you. So we have func on player interact over here. So what we're going to do now is check var does player have key equals mirror.get object variable. So mirror is our singleton. It has a method or a function. Technically it's called a method, but think of it as a function. It's just on that object. When it's on an object, it's called a method. So the method get object variable. And what are we getting? Well, object of the player, because the player is an object, and we're getting has key. Okay. So what we're going to very simply do is if does player have key equals true. Again, double equals for comparison and single equals for assignment. Then notify dot success, and this is coming from the door, and we'll say access granted. And otherwise, else that didn't work, or if the player does not have the key, then do notify dot error, and the door is saying access denied. All right, so this should be pretty simple here. So let's go ahead and test this. Let's go over to our box that we already have that drops off the key. So if I go up to this now, then it says I do not have the key, access denied. And if I go over to the box that has the key, then boom, you have the key and the door says access granted. Life is good. So pretty simple, awesome, robust system we got here. And this allows us to communicate across objects and actually store whether myself, the player, has the key, and it's a great way to communicate. There's a lot you can do with this, a lot that's very extensible, but that got us very quickly to what we wanted to do. So of course, now we have the last part. Well, the door isn't actually opening yet, so let's do that fun part. And so what we'll do is we're going to create a new method. And again, if you're new to coding, totally fine. This is very common to just break things out. It's a rookie mistake is very much to write long methods. You don't want to do that. You want to split them up, keep them small. Small methods are a good thing. Single responsibility principle largely also applies to methods, to functions. So we'll keep that here. So we're just going to define func toggle. We'll just add a pass in here, standard GDScript. And so now what we're going to do is if does player have key equals true, then what we're going to do is after the access granted, well, toggle. So that will be pretty easy. We don't need to test that just yet. So what we're going to do now is add a new variable up top, and this variable will be called var is open, and default state is false. Var is open equals false. And so we're going to just do something similar down here. So we're going to say if is open equals true, then position, I should start with false because that's the current state. So if is open is false, then position.x equals position.x minus 6. And you might be wondering, where did that just come from? And so let's hop over to the Godot docs. So this is the really fun part, because the mirror is built on Godot, and an object in Godot, because it's a space object, that is, it's our technical name, that descends from Node 3D. So anything that you have accessible in Godot with Node 3D, you now have accessible in the mirror. And this allows you to do so many things super quickly, from accessing the basis, global rotation, position, rotation, degrees, scale, top level, visible, and then all these methods on it too, from getting information about the rotation, to hiding, to showing, to translating, to rotating just specific axes, like you name it. There's so many cool things you can do because all this in Godot is already exposed. And there's many things that inherit from Node 3D as well that also have all of these things. And this is just going to get better and better with the mirror, because our plan with our upcoming space object refactor, which you can see on our open source repo right now, that is going to allow us, the goal for that is to allow us to get to the point where you can actually use any type of node in Godot. We have some aspects of that right now, but there's a lot more to come whenever you can just build something in Godot, import that into the mirror. The long-term vision for the mirror is that you can start in Godot and end in the mirror, or start in the mirror and end in Godot. There's a lot of cool stuff coming there. So with that, staying focused in this tutorial though, we have our position, so we'll just update the position. That is a vector 3. So you can either create a new vector and assign that, or just access the vector by .x, .y, .z. And so we'll do that for simplicity. That's just what we did over here. So position.x equals position.x minus 6. So that's if it's open. And now we're going to say else, then position.x equals position.x plus 6. And this is denoted in meters, so 6 meters. And this door, I'm kind of eyeballing it. It looks about 6 meters wide, so we'll go for that. And that's on the x-axis, because that's this red gizmo right here. And you'll see that if you go to properties, you'll notice that the x is red. Easy rule of thumb there, easy way to track. Then I try to open the door, access denied, so let me pick up a key over here, and boom, access granted. And so now if I interact with it again, whoop, that looks like a bug. Oh, that's because we used the toggle and didn't actually update whether it's open, is true or false. So what we're going to do now is position minus 6. So I'm going to actually flip these two. We're going to do position plus 6 to start, and minus 6 just so it's consistent with the last video. And now we need to set is open equals true, and then in the opposite case, set is open equals false. Which there's other ways you can do this too, but we'll do the consistent one here. So is open equals false. So now let's try that again. So that opens the door right there, and then this slides the door right back in place. So congratulations, you now have a working door with GDScript with another method that you created. So you already have 2 methods you've created, and this is just how coding works. Keep on adding more of these building blocks, and it's really fun, really satisfying. And so that was quite easy. So all we did was check if the player has the key. If true, then grant access. We notify it, and there's a toggle that checks whether the door is open or not. And this is not a global. This is actually constrained to our door here because it's constrained to this file. So of course there are like very granular ways we could refine this, but I think this is great right now for what we need. There are aspects of like not doing too much at once with coding. Just kind of getting it working put together and then refactoring on it from there. Yeah, I think it's a good approach to it. So that's all good. We had an awesome sound from our last video, so let's add that in there. But I'm going to show you something cool because we could do this in GDScript. There's actually a missing audio method, so that is incoming. So we're going to do this in visual scripting anyway. So we'll go ahead and click Add Script, new visual script. And again, if you're new to coding, you'll love this because we're going to run complicated script and no code visual script side by side on the same object even. So actually, we're just going to access the same player interact here. And what are we going to do? Well, this will be in the last video, and I have to include the link on it. And so we have this door, and so we're just going to drag in this wave file. There's the sound of it. That's a bug because it's loud too. And this is loud, and there we go. So I dragged this in, and on player interact is going to play this audio clip. So quite simple here. So now notice what's going on here is on our scripts, we have two scripts enabled. We'll call this the play sound visual script, and this is the, we'll call it the door logic GDScript. So we have two of these scripts side by side, and they're both accessing on player interact independently of each other. Boom, look at that. All right, nice. So there we are with two scripts side by side of different types, GDScript and a visual script. Life is good. And so you might have noticed already that there could be a bug here. If you didn't discover it, just play around yourself, and it's kind of a quick exercise. If I drop off the key over here, we didn't actually add in the logic for checking the conditional in visual scripting. So we'll do that in visual scripting real quick too, depending if this fits your fancy. So pretty similar. We're just going to drag this over here. We're going to type in if. Notice under flow we have if here. And so what we're going to do now is also get an object variable. So very much the same code here. So we are going to, let's see, there's our get object variable. And what object? Well, that's the player actually. So we're going to hook this up to the player here, get object variable. And that same key has underscore key. Key is in key value pairs here, but also called has key. And so if has key then is true, then we're going to play this clip. And let's go ahead and try this out. So if I go back over here, yep, I don't have the key. Ooh, it didn't play. That was good. So now I pick up the key, and boom, look at that. I love this sound effect. And so if I drop off the key and I go back over to the door, then access is denied. Let's play a sound for that too. So let's go back over to this visual script, open it up. And so on this conditional here of if true, play the audio clip. And then if false, I still want to play an audio clip. And I'm not going to actually type in play audio clip, because you'll see what I did earlier was I just dragged in this audio that I had here. Nope. This is just a loop. There we go. So be sure to delete that. That's a bug that we'll fix. And so this audio clip is going to play if it's false. So I go up to the door. Nice. Door's locked. So I go over here, pick up the key, and nice. Cool. Life is good. So we got that working. Let's keep on making it more fun too. And more immersive. Let's add some more sound. So we're going to do the same thing actually on this box. We're going to create a new visual script, add another player interact block, and we're going to, I also got a nice success sound. Let's go ahead and delete that, and then we will drag this in on player interact. So every time we go to this box key, this box with the key, we want to play the sound. Boom, look at that. So we have the key. Now we can open the door. That's good. Then we can drop off the key, and now I can open the door. Boom, look at that. So with that, congratulations. We have created a door in both GDScript, so kind of medium code, traditional coding, and with visual script, running side by side, doing two different things. And you'll ultimately be able to do whatever you want with either type of script. So a lot of cool stuff coming there. We're very excited about this because this opens up so many possibilities for the types of games you can create. We hope you love it. We'd love to hear your feedback. If there's anything else you want to see, anything you'd like us to dive into, anything you'd like us to prioritize, please join us in Discord. Come hang out, come talk. Tweet at us on X. Come hang out and talk. We have a cool growing community. Come play each other's games. Come build cool stuff together. All this is networked in multiplayer in real time, so it's perfect to build side by side with a friend, with a player, with a colleague, with a stakeholder, anyone. And so we hope you love it. And with that, have a great night. Thank you for your time.